This video is not going to waste your time. We're going to get straight into the point of how to start flipping houses in 2022. We're going to break this video down into 4 sections. You're going to do finding deals, we're going to do analyzing deals, we're going to do the renovation process, and then
the closing processes.
The place that you want to start is finding deals, because you can't do real estate without finding deals. So the first way that we find deals is Zillow, and anyone has access to Zillow, which is really cool. So tell them about that 1.44 acres that we just bought.
So I was scrolling on Zillow one night and I saw a house that was pretty run down and it looked a little bit overpriced. But then when I looked a little bit closer, I realized that it was on 1.44 acres. So we drove out that night, brought a printed contract, and then...
That was your idea?
Yep.
I was like, I want to lock this deal up. And then she's like, well, why don't you print a contract? I'm like, you're genius. So we pretty much locked it up that night on the hood of the seller's car, right, which was an HRV.
So this ended up being a great deal. We can renovate the existing house and then possibly build some other houses on the property as well. A lot of people just scroll Zillow for fun. My friends talk about it all the time. They're just curious about what could be on there. I'm curious too, but not to look at the nice fancy houses, to find good flips. There's a lot of deals just right under your nose.
Driving for dollars, babe, tell them.
We like to take drives every once in a while to look for deals. You can usually tell if a property owner doesn't live there if the grass is a little overgrown, no cars in the driveway, or overall if we just see a property that looks distressed. Yeah. Those are signs that somebody might be wanting to sell their house.
Tell them about Deal Machine, the app that we use.
When we see a property that we're interested in, we can use an app called Deal Machine, and we do what's called skip tracing. It gives us some information about the property owner, like their phone number or address, and then we can use that to contact them to ask them if they might be interested in selling.
Deal Machine also does something really cool where you can take a picture of their property and it's going to take that photo and make it into an automatic mailer, but you have to be careful. I'm not sure how to avoid this. Insert the voicemail.
I just received a notice from you people regarding your desire to buy my property, and it shows a picture of one of your associates in my yard. The next time you set foot on my property, be prepared to address the end of your life. I will blow your head off if you ever step foot in my yard again. You damn people.
So we have actually stopped sending mailers out based off of that voicemail, because honestly, I like having a head and I don't want it blown off. And there's other ways to find deals, which we're in the middle of telling you about. So don't go anywhere. No, don't take that part out. Another way to find them is FSBOs, for sale by owners. So sometimes finding FSBOs can be tricky because maybe they don't have it listed on the MLS. Sometimes they do, and it'll pop up on Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com, and Zillow is just one of those brands. But sometimes you can just drive and see FSBO signs, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you can just call the owners.
If you can find a for sale by owner that isn't already listed on the MLS or Zillow, you might have a better chance of getting it because not as many people are probably contacting them about it. Right. So when we drive around and we see the signs, that's a good way.
That's when you see the signs, it's definitely a sign that they want to sell their house.
That is a sign. Yeah. So pre-foreclosures can be a great way to find deals. This happens when the county, I guess it's the mortgage company, but some of it I don't totally understand. So I guess it's like when the property's been in default for a while and it's like the mortgage company first saying the first time we're going to foreclose, are you ready to give us some money? And then if they don't get the house out of default, then it's over. It goes to the auction.
Leave all that in.
Yeah.
It's the real Aaron.
So a lot of people know that pre-foreclosures are a good way to find deals. One way that people find pre-foreclosures is through lists online, but a lot of people have access to those lists.
Like listsource.com is one of them. But like you said,
if you're one of hundreds of people who are contacting these people about buying their house, there's a good chance they're never going to answer your text or phone call. Yeah. So what I do is I go to the official records on the county clerk website and I look for very recent pre-foreclosures, like ones that were filed within the last day or two. And I contact those people. There's a good chance that they've never been contacted at all before.
Here's the thing. We're actually helping them out by offering them cash for their deal. they're in a bad situation. So we want to reach out to them, and you can use Deal Machine or something like that to skip trace and get their number and text them or call them. And you can see a lot of times it's like an iPhone or wherever, you can see like message was delivered. Be like, hey, we're local investors. We want to help you out with your situation, give you cash, hundreds of thousands of dollars for your house. Some of them are going to curse you out. Some of them are going to be like, wow, like I'm in this bad situation. Like life is life. We're humans, like things happen and we understand that, but we're investors and we have the cash to invest. So
a lot of investors choose to buy properties that are already foreclosed on. So this is at the end of the process when the original property owner can't get it back anymore and they can't repay on their mortgage that they had defaulted on. So they auction them off.
So babe, have we found a lot of deals this way or what?
We have not found a lot of deals this way because if you end up winning the auction the same day,
a lot of the sites make you pay full cash.
Right,
for the whole
same
property.
day. And because we usually use
crazy.
a hard money lender, we can't get the cash in the same day.
Yeah,
so.
It's just kind of like, I don't know. The hard money process takes like 2 or 3 days probably to like be put through. And then there's like title work. And some auction sites say that you can, you know, go through this process and you get it under contract. Then you have to close within like a certain amount of days. But I don't know. Just the one locally, I didn't want to deal with it. And the deals weren't that great anyway. They were like way over what we would pay in the first place.
Yeah.
So we just kind of haven't really done foreclosures or auctions. It's kind of lumped together. Short sales is another way to find deals. I recently bought a deal, short sale deal. The process took really, really long. Like it was this whole extra bit of paperwork. We had to pay extra money to the bankruptcy estate. The purchase price was about $315,000 and we had to pay an extra like $15,000 just to the bankruptcy estate. Also, one thing that was really weird about this deal was we put in our bid. They approved it, you know, bid meaning our contract. They signed our contract. I'm thinking we have a signed contract. Then they're like, well, the bank has to like officially approve this whole thing. We waited for like what, 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, it was a long
on Madrid. It was so bizarre. We had to wait like 3 or 4 months for the bank to be like, okay, all right, we're good. We approve your bid. I'm like, okay, because there's always like lien holders and all these different things that have to be like, okay, this price is good. And they were only asking like, I think $289 or $295 or whatever it was, and I offered $315, $555, and they said I won it by about $5. And so video coming on that house.
If you're ever on the edge
in a few months,
just offer $5 more. It might make the difference.
And you know, in this deal, it made the difference. Networking is a super crucial aspect of life. But one way you can do this in this digital age is, I really screwed that line up.
It's okay, I've got a wiggly dog.
Is Facebook groups. A Facebook group that we join, Yellowbird, is really, really fantastic because I can connect with investors, subcontractors, wholesalers, all in one night. Right, Aaron, you've come to a Yellowbird event with me once.
Yes, I have been there before.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's good.
Lots of people in the real estate world all in one room, so you can network and make some cool connections.
One time I was sitting next to a guy named Bruce, and I made a whole video about this before, and I found this great deal, and I had this whole fire damage thing, and I made like $60,000 on that deal, Palmer Terrace. It was awesome. So you never know who you're going to sit next to. And I was at another event, and I just said hi to this random guy who was walking by. I'm like, hey man, I just felt like I should say hi to him because I do that often to random people in life because you never know who you're going to run into. And he was like, hey man, he happened to be the president, CEO, founder of SVR Realty. And he does like $300 or $400 million worth of business. And he's like, I'm going to bring you $10 million worth of business, like, and like very soon in the coming years.
He wants to come up here, but it's too slippery.
Do you want to be a podcast star, YouTube star? So he's brought me millions of dollars worth of business, and he's now helping us sell some of our real estate deals and stuff like that, some of the larger multifamily stuff. If I ever need anything, it's super fantastic to get into a Facebook group like that because people start knowing who you are. They see your name. So like know you in the local community, as well as if I need something like, hey, I need like a roofing guy or like this and that. Like I need to figure out 1031 exchanges, or I need a cost segregation report guy to do a study on my 10plex. And they're like, oh, boom. And all these people reply. I get all these DMs. I'm like, I need to sell my Airbnb furniture at this single family house because I want to like sell that deal. And you know what? All these people reached out to me and I wound up selling it for thousands of dollars. So Facebook groups have been a major game changer for us.
All of these ways that we mentioned take a lot of time and work, but what a lot of people want to do is they want to cut out all of that, so they reach out directly to a wholesaler. So occasionally with a wholesaler, you can find a good deal they have already done all the work, like going through lists and contacting
crazy people.
We
offered all these other ways to find deals, but wholesalers probably have even more ingenious ways of, I don't even know, like specific types of lists or like stuff that there's always like this inner, I'm like, how do you find your deals? You're like, well, that's my secret. I'm like, all right, thanks. So they make like, sometimes like I've had wholesalers make $40,000, like $20, $30, $40,000 like on top of the deal, which I'm fine with to some extent, because if you can still make money, then send it, like, get it done.
Most of the time, wholesalers overinflate the numbers. They want to make as much money as possible on the deal. So
a lot of the deals we get are just complete garbage cans. They're like, here's this garbage can. We want
in a terrible area.
$100,000. The ARV is $120,000. It needs $100,000 worth of work. And like, it's kind of bizarre sometimes. It's not always bizarre, but especially in this market, where in 2022, the market is absolutely berserk. So we've definitely found deals with wholesalers. Bruce was a wholesaler. We found Inwood with a wholesaler, many deals with wholesalers, but it's not always the best plan of attack. One time I answered a random number call, and by the end of the day, I had $78,000 in my bank account, because it happened to be when I was getting this SBA loan. They're like, Jesse, all you need to do is like click the green button and the money is like yours. And I was like, oh, wow. So sometimes I have these gut feelings to answer random numbers, which I did one time, and it was Tyler, a hungry realtor. So finding a young and hungry realtor is a fantastic way to find good deals. So let's see what Tyler's up to. I'll let him explain. What's up, man?
What's up? 1 second.
You chowing down on a sandwich? Okay. No. The script, bro. It was hungry as in like young and hungry, not like eating a pub sub sandwich.
Screwed up there. My fault.
It's all good, bro. Look, dude, we all make mistakes, but Tyler has brought us a lot of deals in the past. And, you know, you're at your office right now. You work for Keller Williams, right?
Yeah.
So Tyler called me randomly one time, and I picked up the phone. I'm like, hello? Because I just felt like, you know, that inner gut feeling of I should just pick up this call. And long story short, it was Tyler. And he's like, hey, I'm a new realtor, young and hungry, in this area, just moved here, and I have a deal. And it happened to be Kusai, which we have another video on that one coming soon. So tell me, bro, like, how do you find your deals?
So I search MLS every morning for investment properties. If one sticks out, I'll analyze the comps, and if numbers make sense, I'll send it over to Jesse and his team. They'll respond either saying they're going to pass or we'll check it out and potentially make an offer. With Jesse and his team being so active, they're my go-to investors, and when we find a great deal, we get it done.
I think a main point of that too is like the fact that we respond to you, even if we're not going to like look at the deal, but most of the time we actually do make offers. I think on 80% of the stuff you send over, because you know our buying criteria. So you always want to tell whoever's looking for deals for you, your buying criteria, you know, how much money do you want to make? What's the ARV? And you're already running your comps, you know the numbers. And if the deal makes sense, you're going to send it. If it doesn't really make sense, Tyler's not going to typically send it because he knows he doesn't want to spend our efforts, you know, looking at deals that don't make sense. This video is sponsored by The Suit Club. Link in description. You have to buy one of my NFTs to join the club on Discord to chat with other general contractors, business owners, and me, and gain a lot of value. You can also come to my business conference. The ticket link is in the description. And if you have an NFT, you don't need to buy a ticket. So we'll see you in Jacksonville, October 22nd, 23rd, and we'll see you in the Suit Club. Back to the video. So we look for 3 numbers when we're analyzing our deals. Babe, what are they?
The purchase price, rehab budget, and the ARV.
Boom. So when we purchase the property, what do?
That's where we make our money.
Boom. So you want to make sure you purchase at a good price. But in this market, it is absurd.
Challenging.
Bizarre. So bizarre. So obviously we want to get our deals for as little as possible. But sometimes we've been offering 40 to 50 grand sometimes. Above
we still don't get it.
Asking. We still don't get it. There's literally people that are offering like hundreds of thousands of dollars or 100 grand or whatever. We don't actually know. They're like, oh, sorry, we went with another offer. I'm like, but I literally just offered you like 50 grand above asking. We still didn't get it. So we just recently bought a deal on Post Street in Riverside, and ultimately we had they're asking, what was it, like 285 or something like that, 295, something like that, and we offered 331. right? And they're like, well, we have offers for 360, 365. Jake, thank you. And they're like, we're going to go with your offer because we don't feel like you're going to bail out.
Right. It was an older house, and probably if somebody was buying it like as an end buyer, if they had like any sort of inspection period or something, they might have either tried to come in lower than what they originally offered,
right,
or they might have just backed out altogether. So
yeah, or if it had a loan contingency, you know, we're like, we are cash. We are going to close. 0-day inspection. We ain't going to back out. $5,000 binder instead of like $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,500, $5,000. And we got the deal.
Right.
And we closed on that one last week. Video coming soon to a YouTube channel near you.
So on this ship, I am the captain of analyzing deals. When Tyler sends a deal in, or however we find it on Zillow or whatever, I'm the one who's usually pulling up the comps and trying to decide if it's a good deal. But the biggest question that I always have for Jesse and the rest of the team is, how much is the rehab going to cost us? I am not a construction person yet. So for me, it's really hard for me to estimate these costs. So getting a good idea of the rehab budget before you even purchase the property is critical.
We will crown her with her pink hard hat coming soon.
Ding. So
sometimes you get into a project and you realize these windows are really trash and this HVAC is really original, and original after 40 years is not good. So we like to replace those things, but sometimes not every single deal you really realize what you need to replace ahead of time. It's best to do that, you know, but not every time. You're not going to be perfect every single time. You're like, oh, you uncover some electrical or some whatever, some rotten wood under the walls that you want to replace. So you do sometimes go over. So it's best to put a contingency, maybe 10, 15% or something like that, to have that in your budget. So you're not surprised, especially if you don't buy at a good price, and especially if the ARV is not good after repaired value, which we're about to tell you all about.
So to find the ARV of a property, we want to look at comparable homes in the area that have sold that are similar in style and really close to the property. Another major point of finding comps are that they've sold recently. So overall, we want to look maybe within the past like 9 to 12 months. But with how much the market is changing recently, we really want to look like 6 months or less. When we're looking at these comps, we want to find ones that we feel are going to be similar to how our house looks after we've repaired it.
Which is going to be baller.
Yeah. So if we're thinking about like adding another bedroom or bathroom, we want to find comps that have that number.
And our level of quartz and granite and flooring,
right,
and like the good stuff.
Yeah. If you find like grandma's house down the street with some like pink carpet, Formica countertops and stuff, that's probably not going to be the best comp.
Right. And a bedroom probably adds what, like 10, 15 grand of value. Square footage is a big factor. So you want to make sure it's like the same square footage amount roughly. If you're dealing, you can't comp 1,000 square feet with a 3,000 square foot situation. So you want it to be like 1,500 within maybe 500 square feet or so.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a number I made up, but
right. That's
close.
about right.
You want it to be close. A lesser square foot house will be more of a square footage value. An 800 square foot house is going to sell for more per square foot. So you can't be like, oh, this 2,700 square foot house is going to sell for $300 a square foot because my 800 square foot house did. Economies of scale.
So to find the ARV of our property, we're going to take a few of these comps, preferably like 3 of them, and find the average per square foot price of them. And then we can multiply it by the square feet of our house and see our ARV. And
the good thing about Tyler is he actually runs these comps beforehand and sends them to us, and so we can just like double check his work. But there's other realtors in the game that don't really know exactly what they're doing. They're like, here's this like $200,000 house, and like the numbers never make sense because it needs $100,000 worth of work. But they're like, look, comps sell for $240. Like, I know, but this needs 80 to 120 grand of work. So there's just kind of sometimes a disconnect there where Tyler actually understands. Wholesalers will always get you. They're always going to inflate the ARV and deflate the rehab cost, and then they try to sell it for maximum. So it's just like those margins. You have to really fight for your margins. And then there's the renovation process. And this is the house that we just bought. You can see our brand new roof that we just put on. So let's go take a look inside.
So many people, when they think about flipping houses, they think about how they're going to do it themselves. They're going to move in, they're going to rip up the floors, they're going to replace them, they're going to paint, they're going to do the drywall, they're going to take down a wall, which is crazy. Like I've followers of my own, like on Instagram and like friends of friends and stuff, who are literally doing that right now, and it takes them years.
It's best to hire quality subcontractors, which this really does take vigor, people skills, patience, forethought, structure, and systems, and a good design. And when you find those subcontractors that you could really rely on, treat them like gold. Pay them well. You want to get them on your team. You want to treat them like they're like the most special person in the whole world. Pay them fast.
Yeah.
You know?
If you think that you want to save money by trying to do stuff yourself, you're really just wasting time, and time is money when you're flipping.
Or getting it done too cheap, not hiring the right people. It's a super crucial aspect to flipping houses. The best way to keep everyone on the same page before you start would be starting with good design. So you want to hire an architect to do your floor plan of the house, especially if you're going to remove any walls, load bearing or not, because you want to show the city exactly what's going on. Also engineers to, if there is load bearing stuff, to size those beams correctly, do your footings, do your posts, your LVLs, if you need metal beams, whatever it is. You got to start with good design. Keeps everyone on the same page. You're going to run into a lot less problems.
A lot of people waste a bunch of time running around to the tile store trying to pick what backsplash they're gonna get, what kind of floors they're gonna do, but we avoid all of that. We have built an online template that has all of our finishes, from every door handle, every faucet, every piece of tile, everything, paint color.
What would you do without me, babe? Don't forget paint.
I would finish my sentences. We've taken all of this information and put it into a downloadable PDF. So if you want to start flipping houses yourself, click below to buy it.
Oh my gosh, we are about to figure out this closing process situation. Why? Why is that scary?
Because
they don't know how to do it. It's actually not. If you find the right title company, they're just going to ask you to sign certain things, and you're going to go ahead and sign them. It's really not that big of a deal. So like I did, remember that 1.44 acres that we told you about? I brought the contract over to the seller. He signed it. I scanned it in, which a lot of times we use like DocuSign, or it's mostly electronic, but this one was a signature, you know, insert the clip. So whatever you stipulate within your contract as the EMD, the earnest money deposit, also known as the
binder.
The binder deposit, which is saying, hey, I'm putting some skin in the game to buy this property. Then you send that money to, typically with a wire, to the title company. Then you start getting your hard money lender if you're using hard money or if you're using cash. It's a much easier process if you're buying with straight cash, but most of the time you're probably not. So first, the title company is going to run a municipal lien search, and that's going to tell us
any little hidden secrets about money owed on the property.
Yeah, liens.
That you could become responsible
You want to make sure
for.
your title is clear, just like blah, blah, blah. So you want to make sure you have clear title.
Huh?
Hello. It's a pretty straightforward process from that point, because they're just going to have the ALTA statement, the HUD statement. You're going to have your debits and your credits for the buyer and the seller. There's two different columns. You want to run through all those different things. You're going to see your agent's fee if you have any agents involved. Everything's going to be listed. All your deed stamps, your title fees, and blah, 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 blah. They're going to charge you for these things. Most of these things are set forth by the state. So it's pretty flat fees, but sometimes little things can be negotiated, but I don't typically negotiate with the title company.
Once you're happy with the settlement statement, then you're ready to close.
Yeah. And then you show up at the closing table. They give you mints and then a pen. And sometimes I go through like 5 pens, honestly.
It is
Those
a lot
are
of pens.
That's how I judge
yeah.
a title company, honestly.
How many pens they give you? Or
no, how many pens
the
I
quality
go
of the
through.
pens?
Yeah, it's more about the quality of the pen. Long story short, I'm an email guy. When they give you like this huge, like, here is your closing I'm like, bro, email that joke. I'm going to put it in Google Drive, you know.
Right.
Like, what am I going to do with this paper? I don't have a filing cabinet. Like, fires.
If you have a filing cabinet,
theft.
I just want you to know about Google Drive.
Long story short, use Google Drive, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace. Should we just hard cut it like that? So that was when you're buying the property, but now what if you're going to be selling it? So this is the closing processes, buying and selling. So what you want to do is hire an extremely professional photography company, right?
Right.
We use a company called Home Effects, and they just make these baller sauce photographs. But first, you need to stage it. Always stage your properties.
A lot of times I think people want to cut out on this because they get to the end of the project, they maybe spent a little bit more money than they thought that they should, but this is really, really crucial.
It's like
to
$1,000,
selling it.
$1,500 max.
Worth it to stage it.
Heather, that's our staging lady.
Thank you, Heather.
Shout out Heather. So you're going to pay a buyer's agent fee, typically 2.5% to 3%, something like that, to the realtor who brings the buyers to you. You're paying them to bring you buyers because they're out there working hard, driving buyers around, which most realtors like to do listings as a seller's agent, and most don't, unless they like that. I don't know, but most of them like to do seller's agent stuff. So you're gonna have to pay a buyer's agent fee, and you just have to kind of calculate that in your numbers. We actually calculate that when we're running our numbers initially, don't we, babe?
Before we even buy it, we're already thinking about what the buyer's agent fee is going to be when we're selling it all the way at the end of the
And we
project.
calculate that 2.5% off of the ARV, and so that goes into on top of rehab costs, hard money costs, and the purchase price.
Right.
So make sure to follow along our Instagrams at Jessie Lane TV, Aaron_Pryor, which is probably going to change that to Aaron _Lane or something like that when she marries me. Check out JessieLaneConsulting.com if you want to download any templates, join the Suit Club, buy the Mac course to teach you how to use your Apple computer. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.